So, here we are having software-defined talk without our fearless Coté. Hey, Brandon, how's it going?
It's going well, but I think the better question, Matt, is where in the world is Michael Cote?
Last we talked, he people probably knew he went to Brazil. I think he missed it and went to Spain. I think, or maybe United screwed him over, and who knows where he is. They've been
Well,
doing that to me lately.
as devoted listeners of the show will know, Cote was very concerned about his visa, and there was elaborate paperwork that he was filling out to get a visa to go to Brazil, and we have not heard from him other than a terse email since then. So I think we could speculate that the paperwork went bad in Brazil, and he. So if anyone familiar with the Cloud Foundry down there in Brazil, just I don't know, just open source in general. If you see a guy with a beard, just like with like a lot of paperwork,
It's
and
probably Coté.
just like in a calm but frustrated look, just maybe just say hi. That's probably Michael Cote, and just say, hey, your podcast friends miss you. Get back on the show.
So have you? Speaking of podcast friends, have you run into any of our real world listeners there, Brandon?
I have not had a chance to have a brush with a real world listener. I think I haven't been in the right venues quite
Mm.
yet. And to be fair, I probably haven't made my presence, my worldwide celebrity, known at some of the events. Sometimes I go in with private security. Sometimes I wear like button down shirts and khakis, and it kind of keeps me away from the people that would probably come up and say hi.
VIP entrance. That's how you roll.
That's right, VIP, brother, VIP.
Well, uh, I was at the OpenStack Summit not last week, but the week before, and a couple folks came up and told me they listened to the show. It was very enjoyable. That they told me they listened and they enjoyed it. Not that would you please quit that? So so because they didn't tell us to stop, here we are without Cote. There was just so much news. I figured we needed to talk about it because who knows where he is and when he's coming back. But the software world does not stop. So
But if Cote were here, what he would like to talk is analyst reports, because he does. Even though he's gotten away from the analyst game, he's a big believer in the reports. He likes to read them and likes to comment on them. And there was a fairly, I would say, big report that many people are talking about. Matt, you want to tell us about what it was and what it said?
well, the magic quadrants are here. It's like it's like Christmas for the cloud.
It feels like the
The
stormtroopers are here or something. Imagine like they've gotten out of a big spaceship and they're taking over.
yeah. It's the new magic quadrants here. One of my coworkers put together a an animated GIF of the last five magic quadrants for IaaS with it animated. I will put that in the show notes. It's quite interesting to see Amazon pull away up and to the right. In the leaders quadrant. I'm not sure I've ever seen such separation before. And if you have a chance to read it, it's publicly available. We'll link it up and all that, but definitely go read it because there's a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, even if you don't have to work with all the different clouds and you don't follow the vendor politics and games and all that fun stuff. There's some choice stuff in there. I especially like with it starting with Amazon. It says although they're beginning to face more competition from Microsoft and Google, it retains a multi-year competitive advantage. Ouch. I thought that was particularly interesting. It said that they had 10 times the compute capacity as the next 14 providers in the Magic Quadrant. So it kind of gives you a little more of the scale of what they're working with. And then if it's $6 billion is was that their quarterly or was that annually?
I think that was annually. I
Okay.
mean, so far, but it could be it. Let's not anoint them that huge quite yet.
Well, they've got like the disco 1976 numbers where they can't be stopped, where it's just up and to the right, and things are going really well. But yeah, I mean that was interesting. They talked about Microsoft. Azure is uh, they pointed out that Azure um, operates and feels like a unified whole. That's kind of been some of my experience as an integrator with other clouds is that the Azure stuff, it feels like it was designed together. That's my interpretation of it is as a consumer of it, it feels to be fairly coherent. That they're and that they're growing rapidly, and their second place market share, and it says that they had twice as much compute capacity as the remaining providers in the Magic Quadrant, minus AWS, of course. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I think I I of course have been a part of many Magic Quadrant survey responses in my career. Sadly, I hate to admit that. And I think it's kind of interesting that if we kind of decompose this a little bit, and we can play some different games with it. Like one is before Amazon released the numbers, we kind of talked about like, well, why would you release the numbers? Because they're awesome. And I think what you're seeing here is like this Magic Quadrant is probably, I don't know, I want to say it's like 40% of the reason they release the numbers is a report like this, because I can almost, with sheer certainty tell you every Amazon enterprise sales rep has a slide, right? His first slide in his deck is this, right? So when he goes and visits a large, corporation like a large bank in the Midwest or something, they're going to show him this. And I think the reason that Gartner, who's usually not quite like when they do these things, I mean, they certainly pick winners, but they are usually very, very um, hesitant to like pick somebody that's like such a dominant leader. And I think the numbers that the Amazon posted really let them do this. So that's why I think because I think a lot of vendors, I'm sure, called and were like, hey, this isn't right. You're anointing AWS. And that I think, I like the inside game, right? The inside game is, well, this is why Amazon did this. It's like these numbers were so overwhelming that Gartner puts them up there, and now they're going to have this great third-party validation. So I think that's one thing that's kind of fun to look at. And then two, just the way that they've kind of situated like the niche players in visionaries quadrant. Like I would almost call this like an online dating of like on the right hand you have like, okay, guys that maybe could buy stuff, and on the left hand you have guys that want to be bought. And you can call, and I think we can talk about it, like it's already happened. You can kind of see, if you wanted to guess, like some of the guys in the quote visionary quadrant will buy some of the guys in the niche quadrant in hopes of making it into the leader quadrant. And it's just amazing to me how they've almost kind of matched them up side by side. So as we go forward throughout this year, and I think, right, didn't it's not VMware, I guess it's EMC, right? EMC.
MC, yeah.
Correct. You need to say it correct for it's a Virtus Stream. I don't even know how do you even say that, Matt?
Vertistream.
Vertistream. Yeah. So you can kind of
I don't
see.
know.
Yeah, whatever. But the important thing is that EMC, who's really VMware, right? They bought them. So that's sort of like the first pair that gets mated up, right? And that's going to be, I'm sure they've already called Gartner and said, hey, we should be moved up. EMC should now be up there
Yeah.
in
Well,
leaders quadrant.
kind of like before IBM bought Software, right?
Yeah, it was very similar.
IBM was in the niche, and they buy Software, and now where are they in the are they in
They're
the
visionaries.
visionaries?
Visionaries.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So and then so like I think, but the one that I think Rackspace is such an interesting kind of I don't asset. It's like it feels like it's always going to get bought, then it doesn't get bought, and then it's like, well, they're the one, I guess, that's in the niche that you could say could potentially buy something and try to like move itself over into visionaries. Even the
Yeah.
way they position that dot kind of gives you some sense of Gardner's not sure like where they really belong.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're smack dab in the middle, and they've stayed in the middle. And the report said that they successfully pivoted from being the open cloud company to being a company of experts focusing on managed services and working providing a higher touch engagement. And maybe that's why EMC bought VertiStream. I mean, they like in the document, it breaks down like what particular things that the different providers are good at, and VertiStream was high touch. It was I think they called them like uh, case one, or style one, where there it's traditional larger applications, where style two is more cloudy, like cloud native, where you're gonna rip and replace stuff quickly, and where some things are like it's not that far from managed hosting,
Right.
and so the VertiStream is a little closer to one than two, and Amazon is like two,
Right.
and Google is like 2.5, because they don't even bother having a sales team.
Yeah, but so like, is it odd, or were you surprised at all that the EMC, the mothership of the Federation, took down VertiStream? Like it does seem. I don't know. I mean, it's like, because it seemed like I read some article talking about how VMware, it was sort of like an admission, or it's just sort of an explanation that like VMware just isn't there yet, but they need to provide this to their customers. But then
Yeah.
it feels different that it's like sitting outside of VMware, but maybe that doesn't matter. I don't
Well,
know.
you kind of get the feel like everyone has to be in this game,
Right.
and they all put their bets on OpenStack to be their private cloud solution. And now it turns out, well, private cloud's great and all, but you really need to be public cloud long term. And because private cloud is not going to be where everything ends up. It's going to continue to skew heavily into the public cloud, running other people's, other people are going to run your infrastructure for you. And so if you don't even have a game, if you're not in that game, you're going to be out. And so all these kind of smaller niche players, they're going to be other large, large vendors who need to have a good answer. So like, maybe Cisco, or Oracle, or some of these potential acquirers are probably sniffing around at the different companies in the Magic Quadrant, and the what do they call them, the niche players.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's funny about, like, they get tabbed as like niche players, but they're probably all making lots of money.
Right.
And and that's what's strange, is like a company like VertiStream, like getting acquired for $1.2 billion. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
We should all be so niche in our
yeah,
lives.
exactly. And it's like, I hadn't heard of them except in reading the Magic Quadrant stuff. And it's like there's a ton of companies that are, they're making money, they're doing well, they probably have lots of happy employees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then but because they're not top right of the quadrant or whatever, they're not making enough money. I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, you also have too just some really wild cards in here, like Verizon, right? I mean, it's funny to see Verizon as like a niche player, right? Isn't Verizon's like one of the largest telecommunications thing in the world, or right, NTT Communications, same kind of thing. So it's interesting. I guess maybe that just kind of shows that this thing is sort of more. It's not even clear yet. Like at the end of the day, who all is going to continue in this market, and what kinds of vendors will maintain, right? Because it's like you got telcos, you got traditional ISVs, you've got Amazon, arguably really more like an e-commerce company that sort of like got into this business and now has this massive thing. So it'll be interesting for it to play out over the next several years. And the one thing I would my advice to our dear listeners is the Magic Quadrant, in my opinion, is like it's not a leading indicator. It's more of if you're not leading us, you're sort of like a historical, right? A lagging indicator is what I was looking for there. and because like I remember I would go back to like when Apple launched the iPhone, it was like Gartner basically was like, it's just it'll never be enterprise ready, and it's like a consumer only thing. And then like the next year's Magic Quadrant, it was like the dominant thing. And it's funny as wide a gap this is, and it probably feels like it would take years to change. Like things happen sometimes very very quickly, and and then you look at these things in a few years later, and you're like, wow, that was pretty different than from what ended up happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and there's also like in the report it says why they how they define the cloud IaaS, and so there are vendors that aren't included because of they don't meet the definitions exactly. Who if they were paired up with if they added to their portfolio, they could quickly show up and be like smack dab in the middle of things, like DigitalOcean. I mean, DigitalOcean's not on there because they don't provide storage, but I mean,
Yeah, and I think
how
this
hard
is where
could it
you're.
be?
Yeah, this is again back to inside baseball a little bit. It's like, there's a business that around these Magic Quadrants, and it helps to have categories that have like, say 20 vendors, right? Something that's like almost like a top 25 list. You want a
Yeah,
list that's manageable enough that people can kind of consume and not be overwhelmed. Because we see this a lot in security. I mean, there's something like, there are an enormous amount of security companies. There's like 3,000 or several thousand security companies, and then when you start to whittle that down, and you want to start ranking things, there oftentimes analysts will start to look at for reasons to exclude big groups of companies because it makes it a little bit easier for them to kind of like make some good research and then sell research. So I agree. I mean, DigitalOcean, right, seems like an obvious
well, I mean, because
obvious one that should be here.
I think, well, no, I mean, it specifically calls out why they're not there, but
I know, but you could say that's sort of arbitrary, right? Like why they
yeah.
chose not to put them there.
Well, I mean, but they are a limited services. They have only a small number of offerings, but I think I read like they're the number 2 hosting company now. And so that's kind of a big deal. And
Yeah.
and I've talked with different vendors. DigitalOcean is like, yeah, somebody should buy that. But
Yeah.
it's always like, yeah, what works for them won't work, when they're part of, your large company or, whatever, but maybe it will. I don't know. That's how
Well,
these.
that's a tough one because they have that developer like super low end kind of velocity sales model niche, and that is something that is often difficult for large companies to consume and not mess up. So to some degree, right, like they're almost like they remind me a lot of where Rackspace was, right? I feel like that
Yeah.
there was a time that was Rackspace. Rackspace grew up to a larger set of customers, and now DigitalOcean has filled that void. So I don't know. I would be hesitant to see a large vendor pull them up and
Well,
really start to integrate them. It'd be tough.
and I'm sure there's a magic quadrant for that sort of hosting.
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
I mean, Gartner likes, yeah, they want more Magic Quadrants, so it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
out there somewhere.
Oh, and what was also interesting about the VertiStream acquisition is those guys are not like a Silicon Valley story. It's like East Coast and Western Europe, and you know, it, I think they'd been around for 5 or 6 years or something like that. It's it was not. I don't know. It wasn't the hot new startup getting acquired. It was like, oh, a company that just went about their business, and you know bunch of
Yeah,
40
they need
40 year
better people.
olds.
I was gonna say they need people in PR coming up with like creative origin stories. They need like a young founder that was went to Stanford. Like they didn't get that story
Yeah,
together real
I think
well.
they had too many
So
people for to be acquired for like $15 billion.
yeah, it's just like guys, come on, come on. What's going on with your PR? You know the drill, right? Stanford graduate, young guy, and just like he's super visionary, and he just made it all happen. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah, yeah,
They don't want to hear a bunch of people living on the East Coast with kids that worked hard, that went out and talked to customers, slugged it out for a long period of time, and then finally got bought. That's not the kind of overnight success we want to hear about.
would be cool though, especially if they were from Texas.
That that would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Texas, the I was at the OpenStack Summit, in Vancouver, which is not Texas. But they
No.
announced.
I think it's technically West Texas. That's what that is. West Texas.
Not quite. The weather was too nice,
Oh,
and
okay.
well, I was gonna say it was lovely and raining there, but we had a lot more rain here. Um, they're coming to Austin again, so that's cool. Not in November, but next April.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, the OpenStack Summit's coming back to Austin. I think I'm not sure they pinned down exactly when in April, but I'm sure it won't be the same time as South by Southwest. Um,
That would be fun. That'd be a fun group of people together. I guess a lot of the same people in some ways. That'd be kind of interesting.
some, yeah,
It could no, you could have all the crazy app developers actually meet some of the people running their crazy
they're
app.
in for yeah,
Right? It would
yeah.
be kind of this weird, like, hey, you know that weird online ordering app? It actually is hosted over here. You can go talk to those guys.
You know that thing where your applications run and they're like electricity? You're
No,
like, no, the internet.
no, we don't want to know about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, give me the summary. Like, okay, OpenStack,
Keep
another.
those guys separated.
I was gonna
Uh,
say we definitely don't want to talk, but another OpenStack conference. Was this it? Was this the year of the OpenStack? Was it the same thing? It was like, this is it. It's taking off.
you know
It's
what?
killing it. Like, was it the same presentation?
I think what I heard is it's business time, right?
It's business time. This
It's
is it.
business
It's
time.
about to
Yeah,
be. It's about to be the only thing anyone ever needed.
something like that. I mean,
Okay.
the
And then
first.
Walmart. Did Walmart get up and talk again?
Yeah. Walmart got up. They
Typical
talked
Walmart.
about
Okay. Yeah.
they talked about their hundreds of thousands of cores and Black Friday and all that. And that was
Okay.
cool.
Right.
A couple other big shops talked. eBay and PayPal and I'm just drawing blanks on names, but there's definitely they're parading out large production deployments, and the feeling there was it was a lot more large vendors. I mean it's been skewing that way, and so the startups are you know the startup parties are all gone. Nebula's gone, and um, there were a few still there. Um, the Blue Box guys were there. I got my favorite piece of swag.
What
So
is it? Let me see.
Blue Box,
Blue
nice
box.
big button. They had this. They had an A.
What is that? Like some kind of easy button thing, or what is that?
Wait. They had like an A team theme going on there,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So you
Yeah.
push the button.
He's a fool who runs their own cloud.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
He's a fool who runs their own cloud.
Well, hopefully our listeners can hear that. That was.
Yes, I pity the fool who runs their own cloud.
Oh my
Be sure to
gosh.
put
Oh,
put photos of me with my team and the Mr. T cutout. So
that's fantastic.
yes, that was fantastic. Good job, Blue Box. And yeah, but there were definitely a lot more big enterprise things. There were companies that I hadn't seen at previous OpenStack summits that I had seen at like VMworld.
Right.
So you're getting like, oh, this is where the enterprise action is now. So, a lot of storage vendors, a lot of companies, putting the OpenStack APIs on their commercial products. The first OpenStack summit in Austin, there were 75 people. 75, and I was talking with one of the three-letter companies there, and they said that they sent 50 recruiters.
Oh, really? Wow.
So, wow. There were apparently about
So
6,000.
bring your resume is what you're telling. Bring your
Yeah,
resume
yeah,
to the OpenStack Summit.
yeah. I mean, I did a little bit of recruiting while I was there.
Oh, okay.
But the carrot I
And
had.
again, for listeners, make sure to watch Matt Ray's talk before you give him your resume. Remember that. Remember
Yeah,
that.
my resume talk from
Don't-
DevOps Day.
Yeah, do
And-
not don't give a resume that hasn't been through the filter.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Well, actually, the guy, one of the guys I just interviewed, he said he went and refreshed his resume, and
Okay,
maybe
good.
that's like sucking up the way people suck up when they tell me they listen to the show. You know, when we're having
Yeah,
like
man. Maybe
the
we need to
recruiting.
recap from the beginning. You said people came up and said they listened to the show. Were they also giving you resumes or jobs? Because that may be a skewed sample a little bit.
You know, some of the people who I would love to have them work here,
Huh.
but they're running their own companies, so
Okay.
it was nice. They were captains of industry. They were not the sorts of folks who would
People.
want to work for a chump like me.
Well, I know you even I offline. I sent you a note like a friend was looking for some help with DevOps, and you just email me back like this is hot. Like, no, I don't know anyone. Everyone we know has jobs or is making too much money. So it's like it's a good time to be in the DevOps world.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just actually just updating my LinkedIn right now. DevOps engineer. I'm just putting it there. Just like why not?
You
Just like
know,
we'll see what it says.
you better be careful. Yeah, you could wind up like in front of doubling your salary and having to type Ruby or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Oh well, we'd be in big trouble. Big trouble at that point.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the OpenStack Summit was a lot of fun. Vancouver was beautiful. It was super sunny, nice the whole time. Um, there was a lot of good meetings, uh, good good conversations. I didn't get to attend too many sessions. Yeah, I was kind of doing the biz dev track where lots of meetings, lots of hallway track, but not very many sessions, and they were all like super full. So.
All right, so this is it. This is it. This is the 5th year running. This is the year of OpenStack. It's gonna be huge, guys. We're not.
Well,
They're serious. They're
they're
serious this time.
serious.
No
Well,
more joking around.
I heard somebody rolled out the numbers that Coté did back when they were at 451 about the OpenStack being a $1.2 billion market in 2016.
Okay, so
You
we're
know,
there. Or no, we're almost there.
well, almost there, but if Amazon's doing 6 billion, that's it's not and that 1.2 billion is split between half a dozen, 2 dozen companies. I don't know. That's a smaller pie. But anyway, but I got to talk with a lot of companies there. I talked with some folks from Google there. It was
Oh,
interesting to see them. They were recruiting. But
isn't there like a Google recruiter like at every conceivable show? Like I feel like I see that all the time. There's always a Google recruiter.
yeah, well, it helps. But
So
then
Matt, I want to take you back to a couple years. There was a time many years ago when we worked together that a small company named Rally Software came to Austin, Texas.
they're in
Trade
Austin.
No, they just came to Austin,
Oh,
Texas.
okay.
That's where we remember. That's where we live, and that's where we worked. And they came to teach us a little bit about Agile and how to use their tool at the time, which was this newfangled thing that was only hosted on the internet, right? Before we even knew what it was called, it was a
Yeah.
SaaS-based applications, and then there were all these like special provisions that had to be put in at BMC because we were using this thing that wasn't on premise, and I think they were just like I don't know, there were like maybe 10 or 15 guys at the top.
Is that when we
At the
became
time.
certified Scrum
Yes,
Masters?
that's it. That's actually when we went from just uncertified Scrum Masters to certified Scrum
That,
Masters.
now,
I wonder if now I don't know if it's expired. I don't know if there was some kind of probably
that's what I was
has.
about to ask. Do you have that on your resume?
I might. I need to go look at. I may need to go
Uh-oh.
look at my resume. That's
Yeah.
actually.
Now,
Well,
if
I
you
call
put,
it a little Matt Ray. I need to watch your talk, your lightning talk.
I don't think I weighed in on certified Scrum Masters.
Yeah, do you have an opinion? Is it passe now? It's like saying, like C++, like, well, who cares about that?
No, if you want to code in C++, you need to put that on your resume. If you want to, if you want people to know that you're a certified Scrum Master, you should let them know. And then when they dig in and they find out that this is from like 2006,
Right.
and perhaps you've lapsed in your practice, I don't know, but it's the point is your resume should reflect what you want people to know about you, So
All right, good to know.
I don't think I put Certified Scrum Master on there.
Okay.
It's kind of like when I got a master's in software engineering, and they were like, "Oh, you can use this to go and get your PMP." What's that stand for? Product manager.
Now I think it's project management professional or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Right?
You can go get this certification for that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
but
was
you don't
like,
want that. You don't want that on your
I was like,
no.
why would I want that?
Yeah, like anything. I try not to have anything with project management on my because like I actually have a lot of product management and product marketing, and then people be like, "So project management?" I'm like, no, no,
No,
no,
no,
no,
no, no,
no,
no.
no, no, no. That's way. That's not what I'm looking for. So,
Well,
um,
yeah, and that came out of the class. So I was in a project management class for software engineering, and I argued with the professor like the whole semester because he was like, "Let me tell you guys about waterfall," and I was like, "Look,
oh wow,
I'm a certified Scrum Master."
yeah, I'm not having that. Like you
So
should have been like, like I have to kill you now
yeah,
because I can't have you talking about
yeah, that
that.
that was the like the sharpest academia versus the real world, where it was like, oh man,
Well,
you're
it's ironic though. Then I mean, to your point, that Rally Software this week, their acquisition was announced by none other than CA Technologies, which I
yeah,
thought is like, it really is like all coming full circle, right? Like Rally went out to the software vendors, preaching the world of Agile, and kind of inadvertently introducing SaaS inside the organization, and now they've been brought into the mothership, where CA, like almost every large vendor, has a legacy waterfall process of some kind in place. So it is. I think there's a lot of like interesting irony for them to be bought by such a large vendor, and then ultimately probably have many clients, right, that are competitors of CA. I suspect are using Rally software. So it's just an interesting kind of dynamic there.
yeah, probably they'll have like a rally suite. It'll be kind of the rational of CA. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. And then, of course, somebody, I mean, if I can only imagine, I hope someone at CA, one of the sales reps, has a sense of humor, and he's already asked, like, hey, when are we going to have a mainframe version? I've got customers that want to run this on the mainframe. And that would be very funny. If I was at CA, in fact, I would hope someone at CA have a sense of humor, email the guys, like, hey, when can I get this on the mainframe?
Careful what you ask for. So have we talked since I went to IBM's Edge conference?
I think we did. I think you said you were there with all the guys. You
Yeah,
saw the big
yeah,
mainframes,
yeah.
and
Oh
then
yeah, yeah.
all
The
the
what?
companies. I think it was
Yeah.
previous episode. So we can go,
Okay.
everyone, if you want to hear more about that, go back and listen to that episode.
Because I got a lot of people like straight up asking, hey, are you guys going to port this to ZOS? And I was like, oh no.
Well, that's what people don't really understand. Like, everyone thinks like the DevOps guys are hardcore and the Linux guys are hardcore. It's like, no. You haven't met the mainframe guys. They've been at this a lot longer than you guys. And whatever you think you have invented, whatever new thing about your great technology is, the mainframe guys already have it, and they're going to tell you about it. Okay? And
And they're going to
they're going to
tell
be
you
like,
about
yeah,
it.
you know what? I've had that for 45 years, right? Oh, the security, we have that. Oh, virtualization, yeah, it was built day one. So they will just go on and on. So when you run into the mainframe crowd, it's a tough crowd because they're like, yeah, we've done everything, and stop talking about the new stuff. It already works on the mainframe.
So I think that's a fertile ground though for a startup, right? You go in to the mainframes, you dust off those books from the 70s, and you're like, hey, what 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 interesting twist did they have? And I'm not saying the Docker guys did that, but you had your LPARs and your which begat your zones and your jails and your containers, and there's a long history of things like that. I bet there's I bet there's like, I don't know, some security things you could pull in. The networking
It
stuff.
would be actually the ultimate startup to be like, we're going in like just to take a group of very young, talented software engineers and product people and put them on like go update something all around the mainframe and see what happens. Because I mean, it could be great or the world could explode. I don't know. It's like it's one of those things. Like you just don't know which way it's gonna, what's gonna really happen there.
Yeah, yeah. They probably invented NoSQL databases.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure there's somewhere like in there. They're like, well, yeah, that was the file system we threw away. We didn't even care about that one. That was like we didn't even need it. So.
You're like, we had this thing called CAP. You might have heard of it.
But nonetheless, I think back on topic, we should congratulate our friends at Rally Software.
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
hey, and I'll say, hey, they made us Scrum Masters, and we're glad that they got bought out and got a big payday.
Yeah.
Good luck with them at CA. They're the new Rational, the new Remedy, if you will, inside. So hopefully it goes really well. And and then of course when those Rally guys like leave and start another company, we'll look forward to being certified in their new thing, whenever that is.
See, I think you gotta have like a group that's out there banging the drum for the new style of things. With this whole containers and 12-factor apps, and you've got Coté and the Pivotal guys that are trying to change how people write their software. The Rally guys they're just doing that. And
they were doing that. Like, do we have that yet? Do we have like a Docker Scrum Master, Docker Master, Container Czar? Like, is there some kind of certification?
Can we get certified?
Yeah.
There
yes.
are.
Like, that would actually be great. There must be. Let's throw that out to listeners. Someone must have some type of container certification, and I would like to pursue it. So please tweet me at bwitchard or the show and just let us know, because I want whatever container or Docker, whatever, however you want to like spin it. Send us a link to it, and I want to go through the training and become a certified container master.
I believe you would become a certified dockhand.
Wait a minute. That doesn't sound like something I can put on my resume, Matt Ray.
Longshoreman? Yeah, it's like something out of The Wire, right?
Wire. Great show.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm in a
on
cab.
That note.
I'm in a cab coming back from Edge, and the cabbie's like, "Hey, where are you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, Austin." He's like, "I'm from Baltimore," and started telling me all about Baltimore. And about halfway through his story, I was like, "All I know about Baltimore is from The Wire."
Which is so sad. I always feel bad for people from Baltimore. It's like,
no.
Actually, nice parts of the city.
It was the strangest thing. He's like, "Oh yeah, my son was in that show."
Oh yeah, oh that's so funny.
He was
that's
like
awesome.
some extra, and then he gave me his recipe for how to make crab cakes. It was like the best cab ride ever.
Wow.
And I got hungry, and I went into the airport, and the food was terrible.
I thought you were going to say, and you had crab cakes. Never have crab cakes at the airport, ever, no matter where you are.
Airport sushi? I don't think so. Not even once. Yeah, so, I guess... and on that note, yeah, we should probably wrap it up and bring in. Hopefully we'll find Coté next week, and we'll keep the show on track a little more.
It's all right. We have the passwords to post podcast, so we don't need Coté anymore. But it'd be great. I'm sure he'll come back though. He'll come back from vacation, be primed and ready to talk technology.
Yeah. The inmates running the asylum. So where are you off to? Any big conferences coming up for you? Anything going on?
I'm going to be at the Cloud Identity Summit in lovely San Diego, California next week. So
really?
If you are in the...
I'll be in San Diego next week.
Okay, but not at the conference. Right?
I will be at Cisco Live next week.
Okay, well listen, if you're at Cisco Live or you're at or you're at the Cloud Identity Summit, or you're just in San Diego at the zoo, whatever. Just come find us, say hello, and we've got some swag. We'll give it to you.
Yeah. Where's the Cloud Identity?
It's like right outside
the convention center too.
No.
Oh, I was about to say, like, maybe we could record an episode in person.
Yeah, maybe
we have to leave Austin, go to San Diego.
That may come down. So, but yeah, if you're out there, if you're in town, let me know and come find me. What about you? Are you? I guess other than Cisco Live, are you doing?
Well, I'm going to Cisco Live, doing some stuff with a couple other companies right now. you know, I can't talk about them yet because the products haven't been released, but we'll have some stuff for Cisco Live, of course, and then I think 2 weeks after that, I'm going to the Red Hat Summit. So, talking there probably or hanging out at the booth. So definitely come by, say hi. Yeah, that's my schedule for the next couple weeks. Luckily, I get to be in Austin for a week in there, and yeah. Anyway, maybe we should get on to the picks.
All right.
What sort of picks do you have, or should
I was
I?
gonna say I do have a good one. Because I love the guys Gimlet Media, are the guys that record Startup and the guys that record Reply All. They just released a new show called The Mystery Show, and it's cool. It's just a show where they solve a mystery every episode, and I'll just leave it at that. Some of them are and the last one was very interesting. It's just go check it out. So the link's in the show notes. Go listen to a couple episodes. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
All right, because I do like Reply All, and I haven't started the second season of Startup. It's just filling up my phone. I got a lot of podcasts to listen to.
It's all right. I'm sure just like download. That's all I care. They just want you to download it.
It's all about the downloads, right? You don't even know if people listen, except when they come and grab you at conferences, and that was cool.
Yep.
All right, some picks that I had. How do you? What's his name? The guy who was at Microsoft, Sinofsky.
That's right.
I had a really good blog post on his Learn by Shipping blog. The lesson of the don't forget all the parts move. I'm not exactly in product management, but I pretend to do it sometimes. And so understanding the context that your product exists in and how you might define your product versus the ecosystem at a point in time, but everyone else is moving at the same time. It was a really good blog post. You should definitely read that. And then I threw in a YouTube video of a time lapse of building a windmill because it was awesome. Because it's like a 400-foot windmill, and they're moving cranes around, and my dad sends me like tons of junk, and I always dutifully like click on it and usually turn it off after about 15 seconds. And this one I watched all 4 minutes. So
pretty cool, huh?
Thanks, Dad.
Hey man, nothing wrong with a good time lapse video. It's always something fun to watch.
Right. So yeah, those are my picks, and thanks for listening to the show. Anything else?
No, normally Coté would give you like a whole bunch of links and that stuff that no one actually would go to by hearing them. So you know what we're gonna do? We're not gonna tell you what those are today. And so just if you want to know more about it, just search software defined tech in Google and you'll find it.
Yeah. And thanks for shopping at Costco. All right.